fortress, dying husk of its former self.
Think the same about you.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 action sequel Fortess Snipers Eye, a film that is directed by Josh Sternfelt, and it stars Bruce Willis, Chad Michael Murray, Jesse Metcalfe, and Kelly Grayson. Right, this is a direct sequel to Fortress that came out last year. It was a low-budget action science fiction film, one of the Bruce Willis vehicles. Fairly forgettable. I remember watching it and reviewing it on the channel. I can't remember exactly what score I gave it. I think it was about 5 out of 10. It was watchable, but definitely extremely forgettable, and certainly not high quality, and certainly not a film that you would think warranted a sequel. Certainly not in my opinion anyway. But we've got the sequel, so what do we get this time round? Well, pretty much exactly the same as the first film. This is pretty much in every way a rehashing of the first film. So it's set almost immediately after the aftermath of the first film. They are picking up the pieces. Bruce Willis, his son, played by Jesse Metcalfe, and the other people in the original film. Bruce Willis rescues the daughter of his arch enemy in the first film. And his wife, not his daughter. Brings her back to the fortress. He gets injured in the process, which means he has got a damaged shoulder. He's in a hospital bed. And then, as everyone's getting all snuggly and cosy, because Kelly Grayson's mother and sister have come to visit. Why so soon after an attack? God only knows, but they have. And guess what? Chad Michael Murray's character, Balzare, returns from the grave, even though he's shot at close point range in the first film, and a couple of other goons and a whole new set of mercenaries turn up and basically continue his master plan from the first film, which is money based, I guess. That seems to be his plan anyway. He wants money. So it's basically up to everybody at this fortress place to, fight back and prevent him from getting what he wants. Right. As you could probably pick up on, guys, I wasn't overly impressed with this film. And you're not wrong. I really wasn't. I couldn't distinguish this between the first one. Well, I could a little bit. This is worse. For me, if you're going to make a sequel to a film, it has to have some value in it, in a sense of, we as audience members will watch certain films and think, I'd like to see more of that. You'll watch a film, I don't know, like The Batman, and think, I'd like to see more of that. Or John Wick, the first one, think, I'd love to see more John Wick, that'd be great. So they make more. They please audiences. I would like to meet that person, probably, that watched the first Fortress film, even if they quite enjoyed it, and thought, I'd like to see more of that. I think what's probably happened is they made the sequel immediately, at the same time as they made the first one. I am fairly sure that's what's happened. So we're getting it whether we want it or not, regardless of how the first one was received, and it wasn't received particularly well. Now, that's not to say this film is horrific, in a sense of, the performances are all at a decent standard. Chad Michael Murray, don't ask me how he survived. It's ridiculous. But he's in the film, and he's exactly the same as he was in the other one. Over-the-top pantomime performance. He's playing the villain, of course. Everybody else, while fairly forgettable, are adequate in their roles. They try and make you feel like they're giving you something new, like I say, by bringing a couple of new characters in. Like I say, Kelly Grayson's mother and sister appear at the base, which seemed absolutely pointless because they gave them nothing to do. Not really. Certainly the mother they didn't. And like I say, we all know right now, we've all heard the news about Bruce Willis. We all know the situation he's in and why he's stepped away from the movies, which is something I've been kind of reporting on, I think, on the last 2 or 3 reviews that I've done of his films, that these rumours were out there. So I'm certainly not going to go in on Bruce Willis. And to be honest, I don't really need to here, because he's not in the film an awful lot. He's in a hospital bed for much of the film. And when he does show up, he fires a couple of guns here and there and has a few lines, sort of thing. It's not horrifically bad stuff, and that's me being honest. Everybody else is just very, very forgettable. Jesse Metcalfe, I just don't think is made for action movies. Not really. He seems like more like a rom-com actor or something like that. He just doesn't seem to fit. Maybe the right vehicle. I think with the right vehicle, anybody could be an action star. This just isn't it. So you've got all these other actors surrounding Bruce Willis, kind of carrying the load in regards to the action. And they do a decent enough job, I suppose. But if you see the first one, there's absolutely no point in seeing this film. It's exactly the same plot, exactly the same characters. Don't get me started on like the plot holes here, really, because I could go on for a fortnight. But, how on earth did Chad Michael Murray survive? Number one, doesn't really go into it. There's another guy that survives as well that they don't really cover. And where does he get this fresh batch of men from? They just turn up. Well, if it had turned up with this other set of mercenaries in the first film, adding to the volumes of mercenaries he had in that film, he probably would have won. So why have 2 different teams to do exactly the same job? Doesn't really make a lot of sense. Does this film not make a lot of sense? It's not great, it's not good, it's a step down from the first one, and the first one isn't great, so therefore I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It just doesn't need to exist, unfortunately, this film, but if you're a big fan of the first one, then you'll probably get what you need from this one. So I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks very much for watching. I'll be back with more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.